Hey, what's up you guys? Welcome back. So by now you guys have probably heard the news that Tesla bought $1.5 billion worth of Bitcoin, which was around 10% of their balance sheet. I think maybe it was a little bit more than 10% actually. Obviously this news sent Bitcoin price through the roof, okay? So it went up like 20% or more instantly as soon as the news came out. So obviously I was very happy to see that things are happening in accordance with my bullish thesis on Bitcoin, which part of my bullish thesis was about institutions adopting Bitcoin as a hedge against currency inflation. And Tesla being one of the biggest companies in the S&P 500, I think they're the sixth biggest company now. Them buying Bitcoin is obviously kind of a big deal in my opinion. So today let me share some of my thoughts around this and what are my thoughts on the future of Bitcoin going forward. So without further ado, let's jump in. Okay, before I begin, as I said in the last video, I did sign up for Newton, which is a cryptocurrency exchange here in Canada, and I know a lot of you guys recommended it to me and wanted me to try it, so I did. And I gotta say I'm liking it so far, and I haven't had any issues with it or anything. And if you guys want to give it a try, I do have a referral link down below where you can get a free $25 bonus when you sign up and deposit your first $100. Now the advantage of Newton is that they do have a bigger variety of cryptos, so you can not only buy Bitcoin and Ethereum, but also smaller coins like Litecoin, Bitcoin Cash, Monero, Stellar Lumens. There's a whole bunch. I also do have my referral link for ShakePay as well, so if you want to use that, the referral bonus is slightly bigger at $30 when you sign up and trade your first $100 worth of crypto. So links for those are both down below for Newton and ShakePay. Now once again, those are referral links, so you don't have to use them if you don't want to, but if you do, it helps me out, helps out this channel, and it would be greatly appreciated. Anyways, let's jump into today's video. So I actually don't want to spend too much time talking about Tesla's purchase of Bitcoin itself because actually we already know that it happened and there's not that much to talk about, right? They bought Bitcoin. So what's more interesting to me though is that going into the future, what implications does it have for Bitcoin and what it means for Bitcoin going forward? Well, the first major thing that comes to mind is that this action from Tesla of purchasing Bitcoin, it puts a lot of pressure on companies to do the same, right? On other companies. So you just got to think about it for a second, all right? Think this through. So imagine that you're the CEO of some S&P 500 company and you just saw Tesla put $1.5 billion into Bitcoin and then the price instantly went up by 20%. So they've just made 20% returns by just basically doing like no work whatsoever. And if you put in a similar amount of money, well, you probably would cause a similar spike in the price too, right? So it's almost like you're making free money just by buying Bitcoin and then announcing that you bought Bitcoin, which is exactly what happened with Tesla, right? So it's almost like a button that you can push to get like a free 20% return, right? And at the same time, you know that every other CEO knows this as well. So that tempts you to kind of front run them by getting into Bitcoin first before they do. So it's almost like this situation where if you press the button, then you get 20%, but then the next person might only get like 19% when they press the same button. And then by the time you get to like, if you're last to the party, then you won't get any more money because like everyone would have bought Bitcoin already and it would have like bid the price up. So the price would like cap and it will have nowhere else to go. So if you buy Bitcoin at that point, you're buying at all-time highs and like you've run out of room for the asset to grow, right? So no one wants to be last to this party, okay? So if other companies started buying Bitcoin, which I think they will, well, then the last company is going to be paying a super high price. So this creates a cycle where everyone tries to front run each other into Bitcoin, and because the supply, like the total supply of Bitcoin is capped, well then there won't be enough supply to meet the demand, which means that the price has nowhere to go but up. Now, I'm not sure if you guys saw that Meet Kevin video where he went through the tax implications of Tesla's Bitcoin decision, which to be honest, I didn't even consider up until I saw that video. So I really highly recommend you guys all watch Kevin's video as soon as you finish watching this video. I'll post a link to it somewhere, probably down in the description or probably somewhere up on top. But just to briefly summarize, if the price of Bitcoin increases, it doesn't count as a capital gain because Bitcoin is considered a commodity rather than a financial security. Meaning that if Tesla buys a bunch of Bitcoin and puts it on their balance sheet and the price goes up, well, then their balance sheet automatically looks better and they don't have to pay taxes on the increase of value that it brings to the company. So I think that this is absolutely brilliant and it could add a lot of value to shareholders. So talking about shareholders, you also got to remember that the management team of a company, especially of publicly traded companies, they have a duty to provide value for their shareholders, okay? So shareholders are seeing companies like Tesla and MicroStrategy, all these companies make a ton of money just by buying Bitcoin. So what are they going to do, right? They're going to call up their CEO and be like, hey, you got to get into Bitcoin as well. Why are we not funding this, right? You got to buy Bitcoin. Pretty soon you're going to have analysts asking questions on conference calls and be like, hey, I see you guys have like $10 billion on the balance sheet. Why don't you put like a tenth of that, right? Why don't you put $1 billion into Bitcoin? And every CEO is going to have to explain why or why not. So this creates a lot of pressure on the management team to take Bitcoin seriously if they weren't doing it before. So where do we go from here though? What's the next chapter in the Bitcoin story? Well, I think that we might see other tech companies jumping in, right? So putting part of their balance sheet into Bitcoin, and then it will really be a flood. And Tesla buying Bitcoin might just be a trickle to what the flood is going to be, right? So for example, Apple has $76 billion of cash and cash equivalents on their balance sheet. So if they did 10%, that's $7.6 billion. You can go down the list of all the other tech giants like Google, Microsoft, Facebook, Amazon. If they each did 10%, not even 10%, what if they each did 5%? I'll let you answer that question and I'll let you do the math. So just to be clear, I'm not saying that this will happen right away or even at all. There's always a chance that they might just all ignore Bitcoin and not do it, right? So it's not like next week you're going to hear, oh, Apple like put 10% of their balance sheet into Bitcoin or anything like that. So I'm talking about like the medium to long term, okay? So I'm talking about like a year out at least or more. Moving on, what are some other catalysts that might be good for Bitcoin in the short term? Well, I heard that the US is going to pass another $1.9 trillion stimulus package, which includes $1,400 stimulus checks for every US adult. Now, we're not going to dive into politics here. Obviously, we can debate all day about whether or not it's right for the US to be doing another massive stimulus package. But the fact is that Democrats now control the House, the Senate, and the presidency. So the Democrats hold all the power right now, and they seem adamant on getting this stimulus package done, and they want to do a big one, right? So they want to do the $1.9 trillion one. And just to eliminate the ambiguity, the $1.9 trillion that we're talking about here is pretty much all printed money, okay? So you think that the US government actually collected $1.9 trillion worth of taxes? No, okay? So like they're gonna have to print all this money pretty much. And again, I'm not saying that whether it's right or not for them to do it. I'm not saying that whether they should or shouldn't do it. I'm just reporting on the facts, right? So right now I'm seeing that there's not that much inflation right now, and people are not really like talking about it that much because people are stuck at home and we're not really spending, right? So spending is way down and the money velocity is way down. But in the future, all this printed money, it may cause problems. And I think that we really do need to be concerned about things like inflation in the far future, right? And I think that I read a report somewhere that said a quarter of all the US dollars that ever existed was printed in 2020. And for my fellow Canadians, Canada prints money too, right? So don't think that this is just an American problem. And I'm not sure if we have any European friends here, but like Europe does the same thing, right? So yeah, to me, buying Bitcoin makes perfect sense because what you're doing is just you're converting your fiat currency, which you know is going to get diluted. You're putting your fiat currency into something that can't get diluted, which is Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is hard capped, so the supply is capped, so you can't dilute it. And it's borderless, it's secure, it's decentralized, it's all those good things that we all love. And actually, talking about the dilution thing, it's actually very similar to investing in stocks in some sense. So as a stockholder, one of my biggest pet peeves is getting diluted. So if you've been investing for any length of time, for any significant length of time, you probably probably experienced this firsthand, which is getting diluted, right? So imagine that you're holding a stock and the stock is going up, and then the company just like issues a bunch of new shares and then the stock comes crashing down, right? You've probably been through at least once or twice of a similar situation like that if you've been investing for a while. That's because when they issue new shares, the supply increases, right? So your percentage of the whole like pie decreases, right? So your percentage ownership of the business decreases because they just created a bunch of new shares and sold them. So with Bitcoin, my percentage ownership will never go down because once again, it is hard capped. So this is just my opinion. Again, this is not financial advice and I'm just some guy on YouTube. So please don't take financial advice from me. But in my opinion, for myself, I do see that Bitcoin is like a very good hedge against currency inflation and it's like a terrific store of value and it's even better than gold as a store of value, right? So this is why I'm like so bullish on Bitcoin. I'm putting quite a significant amount of my wealth into Bitcoin. So anyways, just wanted to give you guys that update. I'll leave the video here for today. Be sure to hit the like button if you enjoyed the video and consider subscribing if you like the series. Be sure to follow me on Twitter or Instagram, links down below in the description as always. And with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye!